What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 22 of my 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that I didn't think I would ever be talking about on my channel, and that is Scott Pilgrim, specifically Volume 1 of the pseudo-manga series from Oni Press by Brian Lee O'Malley. This volume is titled Precious Little Life, and this is about a guy named Scott Pilgrim. He's 23 years old, he's in a band called Sex Bob-omb, and he meets a girl named Ramona Flowers. He falls for her, and then by the end of the book, he has to fight one of her evil ex-boyfriends, and then he finds out that if he wants to pursue a relationship with Ramona, he is going to have to fight 6 more of her evil exes. And that pretty much sets up the premise for the series, and then we will get, I think, 5 or 6 more volumes of this series, which I have not read. This series, or at least this volume, is very witty, very charming. I love the sense of humor that it has here. A lot of the jokes here are outstandingly funny. I really love the art style. It's pretty much like a combination of what you would see in Dragon Ball and what you would see in like Bugs Bunny. I really love that kind of synthesis between American comic books and Japanese comic books. I don't know what Brian Lee O'Malley's influences are, but I would not be surprised at all if he told me that his influences were a lot of Japanese comics from the 1980s. I really love all of that. The one thing about this book that I don't love is the protagonist, Scott Pilgrim himself. Scott Pilgrim is the worst person in this entire book. First of all, he's kind of an idiot, and there's nothing wrong with having your protagonist be an idiot, but you have to make your protagonist be likable. And this book not only fails at making him likable, it actually succeeds at making him very unlikable. He's dating this high school girl named Knives Chow, and one of his friends straight up calls him out on this and says that he doesn't seem interested in dating Knives, he just seems to be using her to pass the time. And then he makes a stupid joke about it and doesn't seem to realize that what he's doing is very wrong and that he's kind of wasting this girl's time because she thinks that he's actually interested in her and he's very clearly not. And then when he meets Ramona Flowers, he starts pursuing a relationship with her while he's still dating Knives Chow. This character, Scott Pilgrim, is a very morally reprehensible person. He does some really awful stuff, and the book doesn't seem to understand that he is morally reprehensible. Yes, a couple of characters call him out on his behavior. His bandmate, Kim, she says, hey, are you interested in this girl, or are you just kind of wasting time? And then his roommate Wallace says, you need to go and break up with Knives if you're going to pursue a relationship with Ramona. But then he just ignores these people, and then the book seems to reward his pretty scumbaggish behavior. At the end of the book, he gets with Ramona, and then she says, okay, you've got to fight all these other people, and he says, okay. The book doesn't seem to understand that what Scott is doing is bad. It almost feels like Brian Lee O'Malley is having a couple of the side characters say, hey, what you're doing is bad, just as a token way of saying, yeah, I get it, that's bad, and then he just ignores all of that, and he continues to have Scott Pilgrim be a really terrible person. I had heard a lot of people say really high praise about this book, mainly after the movie came out. I hadn't heard nearly as much about this series before the movie came out, but after the movie came out, I remember a lot of people really talking very highly about the Scott Pilgrim series. And after reading the first volume, I can see why. There is a lot about this series to write home about. I really love the art. I really love the witty humor. I love all of the characters in the book except for the main character, Scott Pilgrim. And the problem is, he is the main character. This isn't a situation where it's an anthology series or it's an ensemble cast and you get a whole bunch of characters who all rotate in and out of the position of main character. No, Scott is the one character that this series focuses on the most. All these other characters, they're in it maybe 20% of the time, and that's being generous. Scott is in it the other 80% of the time, and he is my least favorite character in this entire book. If this series was about all of these other characters and not Scott Pilgrim, if you just took him out of it and had this series be about everyone else, I would love it about 100 times more. Unfortunately, Scott Pilgrim is there, and the series is about Scott Pilgrim, and that kind of ruins it for me. Am I going to close myself off from reading the rest of the series? Probably not. My library has all of the other volumes, so it's very likely that you will see me talk about some of the other volumes later this year, wink wink. But am I going to go out of my way to buy the other volumes in this series? Probably not. I bought this, actually I got this for free, it was about to be thrown away, and so I saved it. So I don't feel like I wasted any money, since I didn't waste any money, but I would not spend any more money on this series. After reading volume 1, I feel like if the rest of the series is any way like this, it's going to have a lot of really great stuff, but it's also going to have some pretty bad stuff that's going to be holding it back from being a truly amazing comic book series, in my humble opinion. Or even it's going to hold it back from being truly enjoyable because of the scumbag protagonist that makes me wish that this series wasn't a thing. That may sound a little harsh, especially with how much I did enjoy this book, but I feel like it's okay for me to give some harsh criticism since I'm also giving some high praise for this book. So those are my thoughts on Scott Pilgrim, Precious Little Life. Expect to see another kind of video review tomorrow. I've already heavily implied what it will be. And in the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day, and be sure to check out some of the other videos that I will be doing throughout the rest of this year. Wish me luck on the rest of this 365-day graphic novel review challenge. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.